very good morning to all the people that are watching us this morning from out of Brazil, and a very good afternoon to all the people that are here with us from straight from Holland, because we have quite a lot of people in the meeting room today that are joining us from the Netherlands as well. A very warm welcome. It's my pleasure. My name is Peggy. I'm from the Dutch Chamber of Commerce, and it's my pleasure to be your host today on this fourth day already in the week of the entrepreneur. As most of you know, we celebrated on Friday last week the Day of the Entrepreneur in the Netherlands, together with the Chamber of Commerce and the Dutch Embassy in Brasilia. We decided to make a full week out of it, because especially in a year like 2020, it has been a very challenging one. So we thought, let's support our entrepreneurs a little bit more and just offer you a full week of seminars. Now, in case you missed the previous seminars, no worries, you can still have a look. We all have them registered on our YouTube channel at Dutcham. So feel free if you want to see the ones of Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. They're still outside there. But today you're right to attend this one, because we will talk about the privatization of the ports and the potential opportunities that we also have for the Dutch companies. So I'm very happy that we can bring this today to you. Now, before kicking off, just maybe a practical thing. You know, we're in a webinar format, so that means that we cannot see you, you can see us, but that doesn't mean that you cannot interact with us. But you can just ask all your questions through the chat box or to the Q&A. Feel free, if you have along the way some questions to our panelists, it would be our pleasure to tackle them during the debate. Now, if everybody is relaxed and seated into the meeting room, I would like to welcome in the first place Roderick Wolfs, our Deputy Ambassador straight from Brasilia. And I would also like to welcome already our guests. Maybe I can invite everybody to switch on their video so we can see you and we can hear you. And also put yourself off the mute, because we know that this has become now the expression of the year of 2020, you're still on mute. But I see you're not on mute. Hi, Roderick, and hi, Jurgen.
Good morning, Peggy, and good morning, everybody watching this video today. Actually, it's not a video, we're still live, but it will also be taped. We're very happy to have you here today in the webinar Privatization of Brazilian Ports and Terminals, Different Visions and SWOT. This is the fourth in a row of webinars we have this week, in the week of the entrepreneur. And we're very happy to shed some light on several activities. And today, I would like to have a special welcome and a thanks for the excellent speakers of the webinar, Mr. Fernando Biral, the Director President of Santos Port Authority, Mr. Gonzalez, Crende, the Managing Director of Vopak Brazil and Argentina, and Mr. José, Filho, Managing Director of DBM Port Research and Projects. Welcome very much. Of course, welcome to Peggy, our host today, as many days. And I'd like to have a special word of thank you to André Litieri, our honorary consul in Santos, and of my colleague Jurgen, who's sitting next to me, Jurgen Leeuwenstein, and Henk Kuppener, our consul general in Sao Paulo. Gentlemen, as you know, Brazil is the largest economy in Latin America, and its continental size makes the port sector essential to its international commercial trade. Almost 95% of Brazilian cargo flows through the port system, with more than 215 port installations around the whole country. Brazil is one of the most important commodity exporters, agribusiness, iron ore, and crude oil, just to mention a few, which requires a continuous growth of its port infrastructure capacity and investments to expand global trade. And as you know, it was a particularly good year for export of Brazilian commodities. Since 1993, public port terminals have been leased to private investors. The Brazilian government is planning to action another 22 port terminals with a total estimated investment of about $1.75 billion from private sector sources. In addition, feasibility studies are being contracted to evaluate the privatization of public port authorities or the concession of the port management. This creates opportunities for Dutch enterprises and also for knowledge institutes. And it is the main reason of our virtual meeting today, to learn from speakers their different visions based on SWOT. That is, social strength, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities in the privatization of Brazilian ports and port terminals. I'm also honored to announce that our embassy will organize a second webinar on port privatization in the beginning of next year. Then we will officially launch the market study that provides updated information on business opportunities of port terminals in public ports, the concessions of the management of privatization of public ports and dock companies, as well as the investment opportunities in and partnership with private use terminals. Mr. José Di Bella and Mr. André de Fazio Neto did excellent work in preparing this study. All participants on this webinar will receive the link to the study later. But let's go back to the first Dutch-Brazilian port webinar. Again, I would like to thank this capable trio of speakers for their time and willingness to share with us their knowledge, experience on port and port terminal privatization. I wish you all a very interesting and very informative session, and I would hand the floor back to Peggy de Rob in São Paulo. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rodrigo. Thank you very much for the nice introduction. And I think you said it all by saying that indeed the opportunities are huge in Brazil. Also, when it comes down to the port privatization, or in the context of port privatization, I think although we had a very difficult year with 2020, I think we can still say that the economy in Brazil is still growing. The export is extensively growing. So it's creating, and then I come already to the strengths. It's creating a lot of opportunities also for the near and for the further future. And this is what we'd like to discuss today. Now, if I talk about the strength and about the opportunities in the ports, and then particular when it comes down to the privatization, I would like to first of all to address to José, because José, you have been conducting a study together with the embassy. How big is and how big is the necessity of the privatization here of the ports in Brazil? How big is the will, and how big is the necessity that that ports will be privatized? Can you give something on that? And you're on mute. Wait. José, I will put you off mute. I will help you. Okay, this is better.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to compliment Mr. Roderick Vos, the Minister Consular of the Kingdom of Netherlands in Brazil, and say that's a great opportunity to be part of this webinar about privatization of Brazilian ports and terminals. Brazil is a large country, as the ambassador said, and it's focused on the export of commodities. Our market is going up year by year, especially when we look to grains and iron ore, crude oil, and foods like meat. We are a large exporter. So we have some strengths that are focused on the Brazilian legislation, quite different from Europe as the landlord model, but our actual legislation is focused on implementing capacity and implementing new terminals. Mm-hmm. We have a very strong program to a privatization program with the PPI, private partnership program that is focusing in privatization of infrastructure in port sector. It's supposed to privatize concession, the lease of 22 terminals this year, and it's expected that we can go to 30 terminals.
Yeah, so a lot of opportunities.
A lot of opportunities, increasing investments to something like $5 billion.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, José, I will also ask the question, Fernando, and welcome also from my side, Fernando. As president of the Port of Santos, also the question to you, how big do you think is for you as a Port of Santos? How important is this privatization for Brazil?
Hi, everybody. It's an honor to take part in this meeting and to have the opportunity to debate about the privatization in Brazil. I think the privatization of the Santos Port Authority is crucial for investments in our infrastructure. As you have said, and also all my other fellows, Brazil is a country with that's increasing, that's growing a lot in terms of agricultural production, and so we have the potential to export a lot more, and also we have the potential to increase our manufacturing, and we still are very underdeveloped economically. So I think we can increase the trade, even imports. And today, the port of Santos is almost completely in its capacity, full capacity. We estimated that the port capacity is around 160 million tons per year, and this year we are making 145 million. So it's 9% occupied, but this is not in some berths, in some terminals we're completely full. So overcapacity, in fact. So we have to promote a lot of investments, and our problem is the regulatory environment, because although we are a public company, and it's not like the Port of Antwerp or the Port of Rotterdam, in which you have a company that's completely equal to other private companies, even if the state controls it. In Brazil, if the state controls the company, we are subject to a lot of regulations, and these regulations make that all the projects, they take much more time than it's required by the private companies. Yeah. So I have almost 1 billion reais in cash now, but the time of my project is it's very long. Yeah, exactly. So that's I think the main reason for doing the privatization, because we have all these projects mapped, we have all the infrastructure. It's completely we know what we have to do, but sometimes you spend a lot of time. All our purchases are subject to contest in court. The companies they do that a lot, so we have to privatize.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, Fernando. And indeed, I think what you say, I mean, bureaucracy, it's part of the Brazilian culture, unfortunately, maybe for this, because the business is there and we want to move on, right?
Yes, our main weakness, I would say.
We will come back to that in a later phase. I would like to welcome again from my side Ignacio from Vopak. Vopak has been here in Brazil since many years, also in the port of Santos. You have been also with Vopak for many years, Ignacio. The last 2 years, the honor of being here in Brazil. Do you recognize what Fernando is saying? Do you feel that indeed there is a capacity, a lack of potential, let's say, to grow and to extend the business? Do you feel that as a Dutch company here?
Yeah, let me first explain a little bit what we do and the context where we operate. So Vopak operates storing vital products with care around the globe, and indeed here in Brazil for more than 20 years. And we do not only operate in Santos, we also operate in other ports. And we operate under different models of whether it is concession, whether it is private, or whether it is a mix of both, which is the case in Santos. We we also have some partners which around the globe that are or belong to the government. So we are used to work with the government and also used to work with regulators and port authorities. And we have been successful. So the system for us, or the model, so far has been working good. Having said that, if I have to choose, because when you invest in infrastructure, it's a capital-intensive investment. So you invest a lot of money. So if you have to choose whether to invest in a place, in a port, where you will do it in a concession that over the years will expire, and then it will be retendered, and then you might lose all what you have invested if you do not win the tender, or if you choose to have your private land and your private jetty, so basically your appetite for investment increases substantially, and so as I said, we have been working very well so far in this model. I think that the legislation in Brazil, although might seem bureaucratic, it is something that we need to understand. It is bureaucracy, you have it everywhere, but and it is complex everywhere. I think that it is a matter of getting in and understand them. And so far, I support the privatization, and I see that this administration, as Fernando was mentioning, it is looking towards that, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think what you said there is completely right, Ignacio. I mean, we talked about this yesterday in the session as well. Bureaucratization is part of Brazil, as it's also part of in other countries. It's just finding the good partners and good experts locally to help you through all of this. But Fernando, if we come back to, for example, the government. I mean, we've been talking a long time already on privatization. How concrete is this today? I mean, is it only about talking and it will be in the future, or is it already concrete today? How do you see that?
We are doing the studies with BNDES, that's the national bank responsible for the development. So they are modeling it. And we have the challenge to move to a private landlord. I think this is completely accepted. I think even by our clients, terminals, that we need to have a private landlord. But in Brazil, as you know, we have this regulatory hell that sometimes you don't know who is responsible for what. And in our case, we also have some public duties. We have some public responsibilities. And I think we are going to have a discussion about if some of the current roles of the port authority is going to remain with the public, or if we are going to transfer entirely to the private. Mm-hmm. So, like for example, to make the inspections, for instance, in the terminals, to secure that the terminal is safe or not. So we also have some responsibilities in terms of public security. So this who is going to do that? If these things need to be very clear so that we don't have a problem later. So this is going to be this is being studied, and the port of Vitória is started this process before, and so they are going to make a public announcement of what they think is the best model for them, but certainly there are implications for us in Santos. And we are going to have the opportunity to discuss with all the society about the privatization model. So I think we are in a good schedule in terms of models. We are going to see the first model now for Vitória, but it can be also, we are going to use a lot of things in Santos. And then now the challenge is to avoid that the process of debating extends more than the necessary, because I think another weakness of Brazilians, they talk too much sometimes.
A lot of blah blah, and we have to go to the boom boom, as I say, right? It's we have to bring it to action.
Yeah, more directive.
Yeah, exactly. Brings me to José. You mentioned also in your study it's more than 22 port terminals. How different this is? If you look at it from a perspective of investors, because we have a lot of people in the room that potentially might be interested to step in, to start investing in these 22 ports. Yeah, okay. I think you're still on mute, José. Wait, let me try. Okay, now you're
working?
there. Yes.
Okay, in Brazil, we have two different models of regulation, port regulation. One similar like the European model, landlord model, where the public port leases areas to private companies, make the installations and the operation of the terminal. But we also have the model where a private company owns all their own land and operates without the interference of a public company. It's a private terminal. We have 37 public ports, but we have 280 private terminals in Brazil. 2/3 of the cargo is moved by private terminals, like iron ore, crude oil, companies like Vale do Rio Doce and Petrobras. The privatization of the public ports, it's really a great opportunity to break these constraints that Mr. Fernando Biral has told us, to break these constraints and have more efficiency in the investments and development of the infrastructure. He said, as Mr. Fernando said, he has a lot of money in cash, but he cannot use this money without making a very long and complicated bureaucratic process. This is how it works. So what we think, if we have these public companies, public ports privatized, or at least have their the management of their concession gave to the privates, it will be a great opportunity to Dutch companies to invest and bring services to the port. Dutch companies are very well known in Brazil. They are state-of-art for us. We have a lot of partnerships and a lot of companies doing business in Brazil, not Dutch companies doing like Van Oort, like Gonzalez, and even Vopak. But Arcadis also has a lot of the work done in Brazil. And I can say a very close partnership that Port of Rotterdam is making in the Port of Pecém. It's a private terminal, and the Port of Rotterdam has partnered with the local government that owns the company with 15% of share. And they are bringing a lot of development to that port and the region. It's very important to bring and to have the partnership of Dutch companies.
Well, it's a good promotional talk towards potential investors, that's for sure. But let's be concrete. And then I ask the question to Ignacio: what exactly do we miss? What kind of investors? What kind of services? In which kind of domains can Dutch companies make the difference here in the ports of Brazil?
The port industry is an expanding industry. We have investments in infrastructure with new terminals, with new private terminals, and investments in capacity in the public ports. And they can make a lot of, can bring money, investment. They can bring technology like VTMS, can make dredging services, management of the yards, and the control of the companies. So a lot of things to bring Brazil.
Yeah, Ignacio, we stole a bit your question, but I will still ask it to you as well. Do you see this the same, or do you see other opportunities for the Dutch?
No, I do see Brazil has a lot of opportunities, and it's a big country with a good economy, growing economy, and the port of Santos specifically is very diverse, and it's the largest port in Latin America. So you can imagine that there is a lot of things to do yet. We are also analyzing the feasibility to get into Pecém port, and as you see, and Fernando mentioned, there is. If you look at the privatization schedule that Brazil has, and it is you can see that there are opportunities. It is a matter of understanding the country and understanding its rules and regulations.
But in which domain, Ignacio? Which kind of opportunities? Because we always talk about opportunities, but in which kind of business is the most relevant for the moment?
Yeah, I think that to bring more technology, digitalization, to be more efficient, and to be, let's say, better connected to your customers and to the stakeholders online, and that is what I think it is something that we are missing. I would say technology and digitalization.
Okay, that's a clear answer. Thank you. I want to go back to Fernando. Let's tackle another issue maybe that very much comes across when we talk about Brazil, environment. If we talk about Brazil and the whole environmental issues that we have here, might also make potential investors a bit reluctant to come to Brazil. How do you see that? How would you see the environmental issues related to ports? Are you able to tackle that, for example?
I think that we have a lot of misunderstanding about this question, because when we talk in the Ministry of Infrastructure, we have the assumption that we have to make all the efforts to be aligned to the sustainability initiatives. So we have a lot of state companies that today have make their adhesion to the Global Pact of ONU, a lot of state companies. We are also planning to do that. We have a commitment to create here in Santos to have a lot of projects to preserve for instance, the quality of water here and the quality of air. We are very rigorous to, for instance, the control of particles that are in the air, spreading the air. So there are very sophisticated technologies employed now, so that we can control that. And the Ministry of Infrastructure is also supporting the green bond initiatives, so that we can finance our projects. So, but for another point of view, sometimes we have some questions regarding not sustainability, but I have a lot of political discussions about this issue that are not entirely technical. They are not. For instance, sometimes we have a lot of problems in the north. And we saw the example of Amapá now, and we have a lot of problems to transmit the energy there. but and the transmission lines, they don't impact the environment, but we have problems because some areas there are conflicts to make just simple things. So I think we have commitment to protect the environment. I see that in the government, and I see that we're making this a political battle that's not benefiting nobody here in Brazil.
But I think it's indeed important, Fernando, that we mentioned it as well, because I think very often the image that we get outside of Brazil, on Brazil, I mean, it's not always reflecting the reality, right? So I think it's good that we also mention that a lot of things in a good way are done here from a sustainability perspective. Also the social engagement, I think, and then I come back, once again to Ignacio. I think Vopak also socially engaged a lot into the community, right? Which is also a part of social corporate responsibility.
Yeah, indeed. It is. I cannot not mention something about the environment, because I do think, before I address your question, I do think that the safety environment, it is something that is mandatory for any company to do business in any port. And I can never see the environment rules too stringent. I think it is a matter of understanding them and be committed to comply with the environment and to all together build a better world for the future. And I think that is substantially important, and that is why we in Vopak we are also working in facilitating and looking at new infrastructure for new energies, even all the way to zero emission fuels like green hydrogen, for example. Now, if you do business and you are successful, a company in the port, you do need to contribute to the community. So basically the social responsibility, in my view, it is also part of something that every company should cooperate with. And we do cooperate with the neighborhood, with the town in Alemoa, and in Brazil, and that's a specific area, there are a lot of needs. And there are, with a little, you can create great things and you can contribute a lot. And so working on the respecting the environment and helping the community, and of course, value your own person, your own people, it is something that I believe it is so important to look at.
Yeah, and it's for sure also in the DNA of our Dutch companies. So I think this is what we understand as well when we do business even abroad. I come back to you, José. Is this something that also has been tackled, the environmental issues into the study? Can you say something about that from your side?
Okay. We have a Brazilian environmental legislation. Very modern, and although our image for things like Amazonia, the fires, and are not going well, but we can say that the environmental legislation and environmental work that is done by the companies can bring the development that we need. We have the environmental agencies are very friendly with the port sector, and if you follow the rules, you can have our license soon. So it's not a constraint, but we have to follow the sustainability and the three words that drives our generation. It's environmental, social, and governance. Without this, there's no development, no sustainable development of any country or any company.
Yeah. I think I fully agree with that. So we didn't need maybe a study for that to figure that out. Indeed, I think it's more than just nice to have these days, right? Fernando, in regards to competition, because obviously, I mean, the Dutch are not the only one. We have a lot of potential companies offering on these privatization. What do you think that make the Dutch companies, from your perspective, what do you think that the Dutch companies make special, better? Why would you welcome more Dutch investors into your port, for example? Now you have to say something nice, Fernando?
Yeah, no, we have Dutch companies that traditionally invest in Brazil. We have Vopak, Shell, and many others. I think Dutch companies are very admired by their governance, and the Port of Rotterdam is clearly a benchmark for us. So we appreciate very much the trade with Dutch companies. And so we also know that some Dutch companies are also experts to provide a lot of services, equipments, and also you have the expertise in port management. So for us, it would be very nice to attract Dutch investment. As the main port in Europe, it's our. I think it's strategically it's strategic to have a good relationship with Rotterdam, and so that we increase also the flow. I know that other ports in Brazil are doing exactly the same movement, but our idea is to be the most effective ports, the most efficient ports, and we, I think, have a lot of space to improve in terms of technological services and technological integration, so that we can make this trade more. We can increase this trade with Dutch and Europe also.
Yeah, I think the relation with you, with the Port of Santos and Rotterdam and the entire Dutch community, I think has been there for a long time already, right? It has been already a partnership that has been successful for quite a long time, I think.
Yeah, and I think we also are investing a lot so that we can secure that our trade, our exports, and the European ports can rely on the quality of Brazilian products and on the quality of our inspection. And so we are working very hard to do that also, to gain the confidence. I think this is very important, and this can be a differentiation to our port here in Santos.
Mm-hmm. Ignacio, talking about competition, how do you see that from a commercial perspective, you as a manager of Vopak, how do you see this competition here in Brazil?
I think a competition is good to start with, and makes you to become better. Which is our objective, is to be the best in each port we operate, and then to have choices and to have a competitive environment. I think that is good for everyone, and that is good for the port. The port of Santos is the largest in Latin America, and look how many companies do you have operating there, competing over there. And I think that that is healthy, and it is good for the economy.
Mm-hmm. If it's good competition, right? If it's not focused only on price, that's what I heard. José, other elements that came out of the study that you think it's relevant to put here on the table that are towards the people that are listening now, that are potentially willing to invest here and go into this privatization process? Are there other outcomes from the study that you want to share with them that are important to mention?
Okay, I'd like to say, first of all, we have in the next month the leasing of 4 terminals, 2 liquid terminals in Santos and the other 2 in the north region. One in Aratu for grains and iron ore, and the other one in the northeast to move liquid fruits. There is a lot of opportunities to invest and partner with Brazilian companies, a lot of opportunities to bring the state of art that the Dutch companies have and bring technology, as Mr. Ignacio said, and the services like the implementation of VTMS, like I said, and the management of ports. It's important to know that that other countries are still in Brazil. They are investing and partnering. You can say the Chinese, the Spanish, the Belgians, and so on. Although Dutch companies are very well known and they are very well evaluated, we have competition, and so it's important that the Dutch company comes to Brazil and bring that technology and bring and have the possibility to partner with local companies. Okay.
I think that's an important element as well, to partner up with local partners. I think that's crucial as well to be successful here in Brazil. Ignacio, we've been talking about a lot that there are opportunities. We've been repeating these over and over, and we always talk positive about the opportunity that we have. But tell me something about the upside. What makes it difficult here to deal in Brazil? I mean, the bureaucracy, we already talked about it. Other points, other difficulties that you as a company face here?
Yeah, I think that I'm Argentinian myself, so I do understand the complexity.
That's already the first problem.
So I do understand the complexity that foreign companies can see when investing in Latin America, right? I would not discourage that. I would say get in and understand, because the rules and the legislation are clear or modern, right? There is some bureaucracy, and but I think that most of it is about understanding, understanding the way the country, the culture of the country, the way they do things, and the way the legislation is in. So I think that if you are afraid of getting into a new market or getting into Brazil, I think it is because you do not know enough. So my advice would say, get in and know more, and then by that way you will see. By that way you will see that it's not probably that complex. That is, or it's not more complex than any other ports or any other countries in the globe.
Yeah, but for sure, I think, Ignacio, you need a lot of time and patience also to understand and to get it. And I think also we have to mention the differences between the south and the north and the different parts of the country, right, which is different. I have a question from out of the audience, and I would like to address that to Fernando. I think it's we're coming back on the environmental issues. Somebody saying besides the environmental regulations, we have the development towards what they call green ports, right? What is the status in Brazil when we talk about green ports? And then maybe I can ask a question for Santos. How green is the port of Santos?
I think we are very green if we analyze the environmental regulation, and we are now very compliant to the regulation. However, we can make an extra effort. We are going to change. When I say we, it's the port sector is going to change the tariffs in Brazil. We are going to use another model, and in this model we are implementing some discounts for green initiatives. So I think the main idea here, the main purpose is to stimulate that we have green vessels coming to Brazil, but and we have to prepare ourselves so that we can offer, for instance, energy here at the port, so that these vessels can use our energy that must be also renewable. And so I think we have plenty of space to implement new initiatives, but I can tell you that we are very compliant now with all the Brazilian environmental regulation that, as José de Bella said, it's modern, it's very hard. We have a lot of constraints here to make dredging. But it's a priority for us, the environmental issue.
How do you, what could you use, let's say, from the Dutch? Are there specific things that the Dutch could help you in making the port more green?
I think, for instance, all the technologies used to avoid that you have a leak when we talk about fuels, when we talk about chemical products. I think we have an admiration by the technologies and process employed by Dutch companies, mainly when we talk about oil and gas. So I think it's a benchmark for us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. José, how green are the ports overall in Brazil?
They are very clean.
Is there any? What are the opportunities there to develop? Do you think? I mean, is this also one of the opportunities that we could put on the table to make ports more green? Is it also one of the opportunities?
Okay, the port industry in Brazil, as I said, is developing in capacity, developing in the efficiency of equipment, and it's not aside of the development of the environmental and the social constraints. So I think really the Dutch companies have always brought to us the environmental issues, the environmental care. And I think the Dutch companies can bring a lot of development to have more green and more environmental friendly attitudes in the port. We do not use the electrical generation to ships when they are in port. We still use the diesel oil to generate energy in the ships. So this can contribute a lot of with the CO2. One of the things that's interesting, that the oil extracted or produced in Brazil, it's a very clean oil. It's an oil, it's a bunker that can be used in every ship without the actual MARPOL constraints. It's very, it's a low part of sulfurs and nitrogen, and so the bunker of Brazil is a very important thing. The other thing that should be noted, that we have a new development market in the port side of Brazil. It's the liquefied natural gas stations and regasification plants that are being installed. In the pre-salt exploration, oil exploration, we have almost 20 times more natural gas than any other exploration in the world. So the liquefied natural gas is being planned to be used to generate energy, to build new vehicles and industry. And a lot of companies are coming to Brazil to explore this new area, this new energy. So I think the companies of the Dutch companies have the opportunity to enter in this new market in Brazil also.
Okay. Now, a last question, a bit looking at the time, because I could continue for another hour with you, but I promised you that I would keep it for 1 hour. Maybe a last question. I mean, we can't go around it. In 2020, it was the year of COVID, Corona. I mean, I have to put this on the table as well. Maybe, first of all, to Fernando, how badly is the country impacted from one side, and how do you see the recovery? If I can ask your personal opinion on that. How do you look at the future? What will 2021 bring for Santos?
We were not affected by COVID here in our port, because we had a significant increase of agricultural production. So we we broke all the records in this year. We are increasing more than 10%. So we felt a little bit in container movement. But we are increasing a little bit. So I think the COVID, the pandemic was controlled, adopting all the recommendations of the sanitary and health administration here in Brazil. So we were able to keep, I think, the COVID controlled. It's very hard because we receive a lot of foreigners, and mainly China. So in the beginning, we were very worried about that, but we are in the same. The contamination here at the ports is the same of the population, a little bit lower, I think. So we are controlling very well and adopting all the necessary measures to avoid spread here.
So, but all in all, a very good year, 2020, despite of COVID for Santos.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Parabéns. Ignacio, same story for you, aside from Vopak?
Yeah. So first comment is that we are here for the long run, right? So it is long term. And Vopak has 400 years. So I assume that a lot of crises and situations happened. The important thing is to remain strong and always to try anticipate. You cannot anticipate a pandemic. However, you can do and take measures very quickly in order to try to first preserve your people and keep serving your customers. So our objective is to keep our business as usual in unusual times. And I think that 2020 was quite successful for us and for our customers. And so I have a lot of expectations now with the 4 vaccines that we have out there, that 2021 will be a great year.
Well, I think this is a positive note to end our discussion in a positive way, because we only talk about negative things when we talk about Corona. But I think, Roderick, and then I go back to you. Well, what more can we say? We see things positively, we look out positively to the future, and we have hope that the privatization will offer lots of opportunities for our Dutch companies.
We do see a lot of opportunities. Of course, we have already a long-standing tradition also working together with ports in Brazil. And from our side, of course, we would like to encourage Dutch companies to cooperate, to seize the opportunities. Especially my neighbor, Jurgen Leeuwenstein at the embassy, is very much active in organizing also the Dutch side and informing them on what's going on with the privatization. That's why we also ask José for writing this report to see what is going on, to inform the Dutch entrepreneurs of the possibilities. And for you, we have an entire network here in Brazil to help you. I mean, all companies who want to do business with Brazil Of course, we're very much also looking to responsible business conduct. So we're looking for good investments, but also safe investments on a social, responsible way. That's something that is really important. The environment plays a more and more important role, which might cost a bit more now, but on long term, you win your investments really back in better ports, better quality, and also better channels to invest. We try to help companies in the Netherlands to find a way to work here together with Brazil. We have several methods in doing that. Of course, as I said, we have the network available to help you, to have contacts, but also some means to work together in certain projects, for instance, in a pre-PPS, to see how we can team up companies, to give some seed money, to see how we can go to the market and to work together. It's a very attractive market, more than 260 ports, privatization of installations, privatization of ports. We have technology in the Netherlands, we have the port operators in the Netherlands, we have the management of ports in the Netherlands. Several Dutch companies are already active in dredging and port management. So there is a wide way of working together and to seize these opportunities to build up a stronger future. We also acknowledge the growth of exports from Brazil. That's really going, this year is a particularly good year. Brazil will be more important in the world, especially if they manage to do that on a sustainable way, because that's really something that is also good to know that Dutch and European consumers are very much on the sustainable way. If it is not sustainable, then forget about investments. That really is something we have to combine in our plans. But if we manage to do that, it's a potentially very bright future. Maybe Jürgen, you have some practical addition on this?
What Roderick already said, we are here to help you as Dutch companies and Knowledge Institute. Maybe you can team up with a group of companies to come over here, then we can show the market. That's my side.
Yeah, seeing is believing, quite often.
Well, what more can I add to that? That also the Dutch Chamber is very much willing to help. So I think a lot of reaching hands to our Dutch companies to come to Brazil. I think this is a final message. May I thank you, Fernando, Ignacio, José, for contributing in a fascinating way to this discussion. I think it was a very nice publicity for Brazil, but a very honest and open publicity with lots of opportunities. So thank you very much for contributing from your side. And we will keep in touch because you're part of our family here, the Dutch business community. So see you very soon in hopefully one of the other events. And thank you, Roderick, and thank you, Jürgen, for helping us to put all of this together. And I would also like to thank the audience, obviously, for joining us again with a lot of people this day. Thank you very much for assisting this session. Don't forget that we have tomorrow the last session of our series, where we will nominate out of 3 finalists the company that will be the entrepreneur of 2020. So don't miss that tomorrow, again at Dutcham, and together with the Dutch Embassy of Brasilia, we will announce the winner at 11 o'clock. We hope to see you then tomorrow as well. For the meantime, thank you very much for looking, and hope to see you soon. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hope to see you in Brazil.